Dear respected Siom, dear respected brother and sister, dear respected friends around the world. Today is a very joyful day that we have a chance to celebrate the birthday of the Buddha. Last year, at this time, we have friends coming from Hong Kong. And we have about close to 30 friends who received the limited novice ordination. And it was a very joyful time. This year, due to the coronavirus outbreak, our friends cannot come. Usually, for our celebration, we have about 300 to 400 friends. Sometimes we have up to 500 friends for the days of celebration. Few friends wrote me an email and they really would like to come. But we are sorry that we cannot open the institute, and we miss everyone. We miss the energy that everyone come and to share with us here at the institute. During the last few days, I've been contemplating the meaning of the Vesak celebration. What does it mean to celebrate the birth of the Buddha? When I was young in Vietnam, it was a very joyful time when we celebrate the Vesak. At that time, there was the war, but on the days of Vesak celebration, everyone was very joyful. It seemed like the war is not there. Everyone was there, fully present for the celebration. There was so many boat parade, and it was a big crowd that we can hardly move. And I was so young, it's very difficult to move in the middle of that big crowd. And on these boat parade, we saw again in an artistic way the life of the Buddha portrayed on the boat. They are seeing of the Prince Siddhartha was born. His mother, the Maya, Queen Maya, holding her hand on a branch of the tree, and she gave birth to the Prince Siddhartha. It was a very joyful time. And as a child, I really enjoyed the celebration. And strangely, I don't know why, but I myself, I try to build a boat also. I use a wooden box to make a boat, and I use different things like beer can, bamboo stick, to make it into the wheel, and I decorate the boat by my drawing of the Buddha. It was a very joyful time. And the Buddha was born according to the tradition, the Buddhist tradition, in the 7th century before Christ, and he passed away in the 6th century before Christ, but for the modern scholar nowadays, people believe that the Buddha was born sometime around 480 BC or 485 BC, and he passed away around 400 BC, plus and minus about 20 years or so. So we can say that the Buddha was born about 2,500 years ago or 2,600 years ago, somewhere around that time. So we will have about, if we are Buddhist and we can live that long, perhaps we have celebrate 2,500 times or 2,600 times the Vesak day. And do we still have the joy, the happiness on the day of celebration, or it becomes something that is a routine, that we don't feel the energy anymore? And I was contemplating what is the energy underneath the celebration. Why do we really want to celebrate the Buddha's birthday? What is it that we are looking for? If we are a sensitive person, and I think we are all sensitive human beings, then deep within us, we always felt something that is unsatisfactory. Not only now, but since the time we were very young. In our growing up, for sure, there was moments that we are not very happy with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends. And there is this deep desire, this deep wish for a peaceful life. This aspiration for going beyond the pain, the sorrow of life is the aspiration underneath the Buddha also. The Buddha also wants to go beyond this pain and this sorrow. In Vietnamese, we call this intention chí xuất trần. Chí is like the intention, the willingness. Ý chí, the intention or the willingness, the will, the willingness to go out of xuất is to go out, and trần is the dirt. The dirt or the dusty world. Going out of the ordinary. This is the deep desire within all of us. And perhaps it was this deep desire within Siddhartha that make him go on for the search, that lead him looking for the path and later on become a Buddha. We all want to live a life of peace, a life of joy, a life of freedom. But many times we cannot. Many times in our daily life, whenever we are in contact with any circumstances, we are caught. Even in a very trivial things. We feel uneasy, we feel uncomfortable, and sometimes it can be pain and sorrow. Even very small things. Our child do something that might not please us. Our partner might say something that make us upset. The way she look, the way he look, have the capacity to kill our heart, to make our joy disappear for the whole day, for a few days. There is this deep energy of violence, this deep energy of greed. There is this deep energy of desire within us, waiting for manifestation. And we do not feel that we have any control. We do not feel that we have any freedom. We feel that we are in a very tight space, a narrow space. And we always have this feeling that we want to get out, to go beyond this narrowness, this limited space within us. And it's not only now, but it had been going on for millions of years. Around 8 million years ago or 6 million years ago, the Homo genus that we belong to begin to develop in Africa. And around 300,000 years ago or 200,000 years ago, our species, Homo sapiens, begin to evolve in Africa. And we did not stay in Africa very long. We begin the process of expansion out of Africa. And around 42,000 years ago or 45,000 years ago, Homo sapiens settled in Australia. And within only a few years, most of the species in Australia was destroyed by Homo sapiens. This energy of wanting to expand, wanting to get out, and in this process, if we are not careful, it can be a violent process, and it can be very destructive. This deep desire to get out of our narrow space, if we don't know how to handle it, it can be violence. The Buddha is fully aware of the dust within him, fully aware of the dirt within him. In his autobiography, the Buddha said that life at home is narrow. Life at home is full of dirt. And life of a wanderer is like in an open space. And he decided to leave home and to search for this deep peace, deep freedom within him. In a way, without violence. To have the space, but it's a space of freedom, of peace, not a space of violence, dominance, expansion, oppressive. So the Buddha was on the path of search for this space. And he succeeded. After 7 years or 6 years of searching, could be 6 years to 7 years, he declared that he became a full enlightened being. That means a person who is free from all of these energy of violence, of the energy of greed, this energy of delusion within him. And that is a great inspiration for all of us. The Buddha opened up a new path. He belonged to Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. The species Homo sapiens. But with his enlightenment, perhaps he created another species called Homo liberans. I create this word, Homo liberans. Perhaps he's create a new species, Homo liberans. That is Homo sapiens, but they also have the capacity to live a life of freedom, a life of liberation. He create a new species. He create a new human being. And that's great news. That is a great news. Because we have the capacity to go beyond our slavery. It is in fact a very great news. Imagine that you are a slave. You are a slave of your violence. You are a slave of your greed. You are a slave of your ignorance, delusion. And now someone proclaimed that it's possible for you not being a slave anymore. You have the capacity to get out your slavery. And you have the capacity to be free. Isn't that a great news? And the Buddha proclaimed that great news, great message during his whole life. And in fact, it's really a great news. If we have this sensitivity, this deep feeling about the pain and the sorrow of the life that we have gone through, the Buddha proclaimed a new dimension of living, a new way out of our sorrow and our pain. And that is a great news. We celebrate the Buddha's birthday because we want to enjoy this new dimension of living, this new way of life. It's quite inspiring. When I was a novice in Plum Village, at that time, we have very thin chanting book. It's about that much. With a few sutra, a few chant. Nowadays, Thầy, our teacher, for many years, he continued to write many chant and translate many sutra. So our chanting book in Vietnam may become like that. Very thick. But when I was first in Plum Village, it was about that thin. And within a week or 10 days, perhaps we will have finished all the chanting and all of the sutra in the book, and we repeat the process. And when I listen to this sutra, I feel so inspired. I see a new way of living, a new way of life that gives me so much energy, so much happiness and joy. For example, the Discourse on love. When I read the sentence in Vietnamese, như một bà mẹ đang đem thân mạng mình che chở cho đứa con duy nhất. As a mother who sacrificed her whole life for her only son or daughter, her only child. We need to embrace all living beings with our love. And it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to read this sentence. As a mother who sacrificed her life for her only child, we should embrace all living beings with our love. And it's a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new way of perceiving the world. If our heart is open, these teachings have the capacity to transform our whole life, transform our whole way of living, and transform us from a Homo sapiens with a lot of violence and destruction into a form of Homo liberum. That is the capacity of the Dharma. The capacity of the Dharma. When our heart is open and we are in touch deeply with the Dharma, then deep in our heart, the Buddha is born. The Buddha is born. When we are able to open our heart to the Dharma and allowing the Dharma to transform ourselves, a Buddha is born in our heart. Sometimes we read Buddhist scripture and we heard the Buddha said that whoever see the Dharma will see me. Sometimes we don't understand that sentence. But it is true. Whoever see the Dharma, whoever feel the Dharma, whoever can open their heart to the Dharma transforms that person into a Buddha. We have that capacity to transform ourselves into a Buddha. If we allow these Dharma to penetrate deep into our living being, to our core being, then we will see a new way of life. Sometimes we think that we have to learn a lot, to acquire a lot of knowledge. We have to do a lot of Buddhist study in order to understand the Buddha and to see the Buddha, to feel the Buddha. Yes, Buddhist study is useful. I enjoy very much. I enjoy doing research into the Buddha's life, into the historical Buddha, historical Jesus. Enjoying studying research into meditation and so on. They are very useful for us to have an intellectual perception of what it means to be a Buddha. But there is a shortcut. That is, we don't need to study very much. We don't need to study very much. We just need to know one or two sentences from the Sutra and allow these Dharma to operate within us. And that's what I did when I was a novice in Plum Village. I didn't study much for many years. Until about 10 years later, a younger brother said that, "Dear my elder brother, please teach us some Buddhist history." We are younger brother and we didn't have a chance to learn so much, so please do some research and teach us about Buddhist history. And then I begin to do research again and begin to teach. But actually, those are for intellectual enjoyment. It might or it might not transform ourselves as deep as we practice a single line of the Sutra. When I was a novice, I read the Discourse on love, the Discourse on happiness, the Discourse on the middle way, the Discourse on the Dharma seal, that is my name. My name is Pháp Ấn. Pháp means Dharma, and Ấn means the seal of the Dharma. The Discourse on the Dharma seal. Nowadays, they change it, and now it becomes the Discourse on the Three Door of Liberation. I enjoyed the discourse very much, that perhaps the brother told Thầy. And so when I received the ordination, Thầy gave me the name True Dharma Seal, Chân Pháp Ấn. True Dharma Seal. I enjoy reading this sutra, and I allow the sutra to operate on me. I allow the Dharma to operate on me. so that I can transform myself into a new living being. It is so inspiring to live the Sutra, the word of the Sutra, to apply it in our life, and to embody the teaching. There are days I read the Sutra, and I enjoy reading the Sutra, and just contemplating about the word in the Sutra. I read to the point that I more or less memorize the whole Sutra and become a principle of my life, a principle of my way of living. And I use it as a mirror to reflect on my life, to see whether I am living in according with the Dharma that was given in the Sutra. I didn't know that I was in the process of allowing a Buddha to be born within me. When we allow the Dharma to operate on us, we allow the Dharma to transform our core living, our core being, our whole life begin to transform. I feel so much inspiration. I feel so much motivation whenever I read the Sutra. To celebrate this Vesak, the Buddha birthday, our brother and sister make a clips and we sing a few songs for you. And in the clips, video clips that you will see this afternoon, the musical performance to celebrate the Vesak day, we sing a song called Reciting the Lotus Sutra at night. Mm-hmm. It is a verse or a gatha that praise the Lotus Sutra. And in Vietnamese, it is something like this: đêm tụng kinh Pháp Hoa, tiếng vang động tinh hà. At night, when I recite the Lotus Sutra, the sound of the Sutra vibrate the whole galaxy. Wow, that's incredible. How can you recite the Lotus Sutra and the sound of the Sutra, the wonderful sound of the Sutra, help to vibrate the whole universe, the whole galaxy, the whole Milky Way of star. Tinh is like a star and Ha is a river. So sometimes Tinh Hà could be the Milky Way. Vibrate the whole Milky Way. How can that be? Because we Because we as human beings, we are affected deeply by our perception. Depending on how we perceive, the world around us can be different. If the Homo sapiens perceive that their life only consisting of survival and doing their best to destroy all other living species in order to protect their life, then now in the world there's only more or less Homo sapiens. About 12,000 years ago or so, Homo sapiens become the only Homo species that remain on Earth. All the other species of the Homo genus was more or less destroyed. We become the only Homo species of the Homo genus family. Depend on our perception, the earth will be transformed. Depend on the way we perceive, there will come a way of living. And that way of living can affect the whole universe. Our perception is so important. Depending on how we perceive things, the whole universe will be transformed accordingly, because we have the capacity to transform the whole universe. Sometimes I'm very proud to be a member of the Homo sapiens species, because we achieve a lot of things technologically, culturally, literary. We have built a very beautiful civilization. But at the same time, sometimes I feel very ashamed of being a member of a species that caused so much destruction to this Mother Earth. It's a very mixed feeling. I feel very happy that I belong to this species, but at the same time, sometimes I feel very painful. Because we have a deep block of violence within us. We have caused so much pain and sorrow to many other species on earth in order to live. It is a hard fact of life that we have been struggling for survival for thousands of years, and we are the only species of the homogeneous that remain on earth. And it's very painful to see that. We have created so much violence to the Mother Earth. Our air is being polluted so badly. Our river slowly are destroyed. Our mountains are broken up because we want to have resource. Our river, our forest have been cut down. We, as a species, we have accomplished a lot, but at the same time, we have caused a lot of damage. So reciting the Lotus Sutra at night, the sound of the sutra, the sound of reciting the sutra resonate the whole Milky Way, the whole universe. Because if we have a new perception, perhaps we can still live on this earth, but we can reduce our capacity of destruction. And that is the path that the Buddha have explored to create a new species called Homo liberum. It's possible to live a life of freedom, of peace, together, in cooperation with other species, by living a way of simple life. And this afternoon, the brother and sister will offer the song reciting the Lotus Sutra at night. It's very beautiful. It's beautiful gatha. Reciting the Lotus Sutra at night. The sound of the Lotus Sutra have the capacity to resonate the whole universe. And the whole earth wake up. And from inside the earth, there is a flower that is blossoming. Địa cầu vừa tỉnh thức, lòng đất bỗng đơm hoa. The whole earth wake up. And in the middle, or in the center of the earth, there comes a beautiful flower. That is very beautiful image. The image of transformation. The flower of love. The flower of understanding. The flower of peace. It's beautiful image. And you will see the brother and sister chanting the word Nam Mô Diệu Pháp Liên Hoa Kinh. Homage to the Lotus Flower Sutra. And the brother and sister will join their hand with all of their sincerity. That is an aspiration. That is a willingness to go beyond our dust. The intention to go beyond the world of dust. Our willingness to go beyond the dusty world, to reach something higher, into a dimension that is bigger. We call it a spiritual dimension. And that is the dimension of the Buddha. And that's the meaning of giving birth to the Buddha. We all have that capacity of giving birth to a Buddha. We just need to allow ourselves to be in this direction. Do we have enough inspiration when we listen to a sentence from the sutra? Do we feel inspired by the teaching? And if we feel inspired by the teaching, if we are motivated by the teaching, then there is a deep transformation. And the Buddha will be born. For example, there is a mindfulness training. We call the 4th mindfulness training, which I like very much. Aware of the suffering caused by the unmindful speech. I aspire to learn the art of loving speech and deep listening in order to reduce the suffering within myself and to reduce the suffering in the other. If you have a chance to go to our website and to download the 5 mindfulness training, and you read the 4 mindfulness training, and if you feel inspired by the teaching, deep inspiration, then there's a chance for your life to be transformed. There's a chance for a Buddha to be born into your life. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech. I aspire to learn the art of loving speech and deep listening. That's wonderful. Loving speech and deep listening. I really feel inspired to live this way of life. Deep listening is something that I've been practicing for many years. And I know that my practice is not completely perfect. I still have a lot of mistakes, but I aspire to live this way of life. And I allow the Buddha to be born in my life. I vow to say things in a truthful way. I vow not to say something that is untruth, the thing that causes destruction, cause damage in the communication in my community. I vow not to say things that water the seed of anger, of violence within myself and the other. Those are very beautiful guidelines. And it gives us so much inspiration. If we just practice that alone, our family already transformed to a big degree. If we can listen deeply to our partner, if we can listen deeply to our son, our daughter, to our colleague, and allowing our energy to sink down, so that our heart can be open and our mind can be in the receptive mode, there's a chance for us to live in harmony together. But many times we don't. We do not have the capacity to listen deeply to each other. We do not have the capacity to practice loving speech to each other. We just want to force the other person to follow our own way, to oppress the other person as much as we can. We do not allow another human being to have a chance. Not saying that the other is passive. We do not allow the tiger, the lion, to have a chance. We do not allow anyone else to have a chance. We do not allow the whole world to have a chance. We do not allow anyone, any other species to have a chance. We are only concerned about ourselves. We become the center of the universe. We want the whole universe to rotate about me, to follow my own will, my own direction. Me becomes so important. The Buddha called it the self. And he offered the teaching called non-self, the practice of non-self. The practice of non-self is the practice of letting go of the tendency of grasping onto me as the center of the universe, and to allow the other person to have a chance, to allow the other species on earth to have a chance. This is the principle of non-violence. This is the principle of living together. And we can do that by the practice of deep listening, of loving speech. And it's very inspiring way of living, inspiring way of existence. I feel inspired very much by the teaching of non-self, the teaching of letting go of myself, to release this tendency of grasping. Because this tendency of grasping causes so much suffering for myself and causes so much suffering for the other person. This expansion of the self has been going on for millions of years. As a genus, as a species, we have walked on this path of strengthening the self, fortifying the self. And it caused so much destruction, it caused so much pain and sorrow. And on the day that we pass away, if we have to face death, it is a long struggle and will be very painful because we don't want to let go. We don't want to give up. We want to grasp onto a sense of existence as much as possible. And it will be a very painful death. We cannot let go. We cannot let go of our property. We cannot let go of our family, our beloved one. We cannot let go of anything that we possess. It's very painful to let go. We always want to strengthening ourselves, the sense of self. But with a new dimension of living, Being a member of Homo Liberum, we have a chance to practice of letting go. Letting go. And the Buddha is someone who have the capacity to maximize his letting go. We call it fully liberated. The Buddha is someone who's known as the fully enlightened one. What does it mean to be a fully enlightened one? The fully enlightened one is the one who have the capacity to let go fully. To liberate fully, to let go fully. And it's a very beautiful image, letting go fully, the fully enlightened one. During the life of the Buddha, there is this man called Angulimala. Angulimala followed a teacher, and this teacher gave a very peculiar, very strange teaching. That he taught Angulimala that you go out and you kill people and you save their small finger and you make a ring and you wear it on your neck. And if you kill 100 people and you have a ring of 100 finger, small finger, then you will become enlightened. Interesting teaching. So Angulimala respect his teacher very much, and he went out, and being a very young person with good physical health, good martial art, he was able to kill many people, and he had a ring of 99 small fingers, and he's missing one to complete his rings, so that he to complete his necklace, so that he can become an enlightened person. And that day, he tried to look for someone, and everyone know him, everyone heard of him, and everyone was very scared. Even the soldier of the king, the military of the king, they are afraid of him because he was very strong, powerful, and he has a good military skill of fighting skill. So that day, he thought that he want to come back to his home to kill his mother, to have the 100 small finger. And on the way home, he saw the Buddha walking for arm rounds in the village. The Buddha was walking in the front of him. He was behind, and he calling from behind, "That man, Gautama, stop!" But the Buddha continued to walk very peacefully. The Buddha was in his full control. The Buddha was beyond fear, was beyond anxiety. His life is filled with love, of compassion, and understanding, of acceptance. So he's very peaceful. The Buddha walked peacefully. He continued to walk peacefully while Angulimala was yelling behind him. Angulimala became very upset. He rushed forward and he cut in the front of the Buddha. And he yelled at the Buddha, "This old man, this Gautama, I asked you to stop. Why don't you stop?" The Buddha compassionately, peacefully, lovingly looked at Angulimala and said, "My friends, I have stopped a long time. It's you have not stopped." Listening to that proclamation from the Buddha, Angulimala trembled, his whole body shaking. He never heard such a thing before. He was very shocked. The Buddha was walking, and he said that he had stopped. And he himself, Angulimala, had not stopped at all. He was very surprised. He said, "My friends, what do you mean by you have stopped? You are walking, and why do you say that you have stopped? Please tell me. If you don't tell me correctly, I will kill you." And the Buddha said, "Angulimala, I have stopped all of my unwholesome deed, all of my unwholesome action, speech, and thinking. And you are the one who have not stopped creating unwholesome act, unwholesome speech, unwholesome thinking." Listening to that, Angulimala wake up. He fell down to the ground, put down his sword, crying, weeping, and asked the Buddha to become his teacher. That is the power of the Dharma, pronounced from someone who have enlightened. The Dharma has the capacity to transform and to turn someone into a Buddha. Angulimala fell down on his knee. Even though he still have a lot of unwholesome act, unwholesome energy, habit energy within him. But that moment, a Buddha was born within him. The moment he kneeled down, he fell down on his knee and crying. A Buddha was born in his heart. He has a new perception into life. And thanks to this new perception, his whole life began to change. He became a student of the Buddha, and very soon, in a very short time, with his diligent practice, he became a Arhat. One of the fruit, the highest fruit of the Buddhist community during those days. He became a Arhat, an enlightened being. Not as a fully enlightened as a Buddha, but become an enlightened being. We as a genus, we as a species, Homo sapiens, we have been walking on the path to a certain extent, the path of Angulimala. We have walked on the path of destruction, of killing, living a way of violence. On the Vesak day, we have a chance to stop. We have a chance to look deeply into our expansion out of Africa to different parts of the world, causing so much pain and sorrow for ourselves and for other species on earth. Are we willing to stop? Are we willing to live in harmony with other species on earth, with other people on earth, and to see our position in the universe? On the Vesak day, we have that chance. We have a chance to look back to ourselves and to allow the Buddha to be born in our heart, so that the world can change. Each one of us carry an Angulimala within us for many years. There is this energy of ignorance. There is this energy of violence. There is this energy of cruelty within us. On this Vesak day, are we willing to allow a Buddha to be born within us? Are we willing to kneel down on our knee like the Angulimala so that we can allow the Buddha to be born in our heart? It is something that we can contemplate. When we pour the water on the Buddha statue today for the celebration, we allow this water to purify our act, to purify our speech, to purify our mind, so that a Buddha can be born within our heart. The world needs many members of the Homo liberans family. The world needs many members of the Homo sapiens species that has capacity to let go. It's very difficult to let go. It's not that easy to let go. It's not that easy to let go of our desire. It's not easy to let go of our need, our deep wish for recognition. It is very difficult to let go of our desire for wealth, for fame, for power. It's very difficult to let go. Many years ago, when I was in Plum Village, there was this professor from Divinity School, Harvard Divinity School in USA, America. This professor an Indian professor. He lost his wife for a few years already. He was old, an old professor. He know a lot about theology. He know a lot about religious teaching because he is a professor of the Harvard Divinity School. But he cannot conquer, overcome his deep desire, his sexual desire. Even though his wife had passed away for a few years, he cannot overcome this deep sexual desire within him. He came to Plumbliss and asked for help. And he asked me, how can monks and nuns can lead a life of celibacy? And I shared with him, with all of my compassion, it is only with training. We have to train ourselves. We monks and nuns, we also have this deep sexual desire. It is a part of our heritage. It is a part of the Homo sapiens heritage. It's not that easy to live a life of celibacy, but we try our best. We try to train ourselves to go beyond this impulse, to go beyond this energy that have been driven us for millions of years. And I told him, at home, as a lay person, you need to train yourself also. You need to practice restraint. Your desire. And how do you go beyond this deep desire? You can only go beyond this deep desire when you can give birth to this deep inspiration within you. That a new way of life had given you so much inspiration. You see so much beauty, goodness, truth in this beautiful path that the Buddha had followed. And the moment you can give birth to this deep inspiration, that the Buddha had lived, the way the Buddha had lived. If you had this deep inspiration, this deep, you feel so moved by the way the Buddha lived, then you can give birth to this new way of living. You cannot control your desire. You cannot oppress your desire. And you cannot force yourself not to have the desire. You can only overcome the desire within you when you are able to give a birth to a Buddha within you. You are able to give a birth to the new dimension within you. A new dimension of living, a new dimension of thinking, a beautiful way of living. And if you have this deep desire, this deep inspiration within you, it will help to transform this deep impulse within you that have been governing your life for millions of years. On the day of Vesak, each one of us can look deep into our life. And ask ourselves, where am I right now? On the path of liberation. You might think of liberation as a spectrum. I call it spectrum of liberation. A spectrum of liberation, just like a spectrum of light spectrum. Here at one end, we are fully God. We are fully God. Without any freedom. Without any freedom. We are deeply constrained by our habit energy. We are deeply constrained by our karmic action. All the conditioning of the past. We cannot go beyond our conditioning. We are completely caught. We are a full slave to our habit energy. We are a full slave to our greed, our anger, our ignorance. We are, in a sense, a full slave. And at the other end of the spectrum, we are fully liberated. The life of a fully enlightened person. Fully enlightened one. Enlightened. Fully enlightened one. That is, we are able to be free from all of our previous conditioning, our past conditioning. We are free of our anger. We are free of our greed. We are free of our delusion. We are a fully enlightened one. We have a certain freedom in our life with respect to our past conditioning. So this is a spectrum of liberation. On the Vesak day, we might want to contemplate, where are we right now? Whether we are monastic or we are lay person, where are we right now on this spectrum of liberation? Are we here a fully slave or are we here a fully enlightened one? Nobody can judge us, only we who can judge ourselves, who can evaluate ourselves. Each one of us has our own difficulty. Each one of us have our strength, have our shortcoming. On the Vesak day, we are doing some kind of inventory into our way of living. And we make some aspiration to go beyond our shortcoming and to strengthen our beautiful character. And that is the meaning of celebrating the Vesak day. Any one of us can be a fully enlightened one. And any one of us can be a fully slave one. It is our choice. It is the attitude of our mind to choose a way of living. I hope that you enjoy the Homo Liberans Specie today. You have enough inspiration to join this specie, to help yourself, your family, your society, your nation, and the whole world and the whole cosmos. Happy Vesak Day. Thank you very much for being here and listening deeply, spending your time with us today on the Vesak Day. Happy Vesak Day.